Hello again, everybody. Great to have you along for yet another edition of Journey Through Sports and Life. We are really excited. Today we're going to be talking about Major League Baseball, one of the greats in the game. I'm Scott Murray.
Marjorie Herrera-Lewis.
Marnie Schneider.
And our special guest is Brett Boone. Brett, welcome. Great to have you on board.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Now, as we do this virtually, where are you today?
I am in San Diego, California, where the weather never changes.
All right. Well, we're delighted to have you on board. You think back and you do all the wonderful things that you've been, had to be a part of in your life. Is there one thing that comes to mind with all the teams you got a chance to play and all the opportunities that you were given? I mean, there's probably not a kid in America that at one time or other hasn't wanted to be a Major League Baseball player, and you got to live the dream more than most of us had a chance to do.
I had such a, starting with my childhood through my career, there's so many, and I really don't have one moment. I don't have a big World Series moment or a big All-Star moment. A couple years come to mind that were real special. 2001 in Seattle, had a couple really nice journeys in Cincinnati in the mid 90s. I got to go to a World Series in 1999. I got our butt kicked, but I got to go. So there's a lot of things. My childhood, I have my fondest memories from probably when I wasn't an actual player, when I was tagging along with the big leaguers when I was a kid, following dad around. So definitely a blessed life, definitely a blessed childhood that I think at the time, I took for granted. And it wasn't until years later that I look back and go, wow, what a cool childhood I had.
You have such a family of athletes and baseball players. So could you tell us a little bit about your family? You mentioned your childhood, about the rivalry with your brothers, maybe to become better. And how did you guys compete with each other growing up?
First of all, there was no rivalry. I was the oldest, and it was no contest for the other brothers.
How you set the bar so high for the others to follow.
There really was no rivalry. I have two brothers. My youngest is Matthew. He's 10 years younger than me. So that was kind of, that was different. I was in college and Matthew's 8 years old. But my closest brother, Aaron, was 4 years younger than me. He was that kid that once in a while I'd let him tag along with the older kids. And the older kids really liked Aaron. And he would compete as much as he could. But, that 4 year gap when you're growing up, that's a lot of years. That's a lot to make up for. So Aaron was kind of the kid that just tagged along, and he would do fun things on the microphone side of things. I mean, he would imitate Harry Callis, and he was the Phillies announcer, and he would come and we'd have, when I was early in high school, we'd have basketball games down the street, and he would announce the basketball games because, we're 14, he's 10. But just stuff like that. I mean, I got to go to the ballpark. Dad played, obviously, for 19 years in the big leagues.
Right.
A big part of my childhood was tagging along, going to the ballpark in Philadelphia, then Anaheim. So the memories are, they're plentiful. It's just, some of my best times, and I tell this to kids all the time about enjoying what you do and being passionate of what you do. When you're a kid, be a kid, because it gets serious soon enough. And I learned that still some of my favorite memories. I mentioned in the opening, I got to go to All-Star games. I got to go to World Series. I had some unbelievable teammates. But when you ask me about my fondest memories, sometimes they're little league games, because you're always going 4 for 5, and there's always a Slurpee and a pretzel waiting for you afterwards. And it just enables you to just kind of be a kid when life is a little bit simpler. You get to the big leagues and the pressure builds, and now you're doing it for a living. I'm not saying I trade it for the world, but simpler times when you're a kid, and definitely mine was pretty special.
Yeah. Brett Boone is our special guest. Journey Through Sports and Life. We're back right after this. Welcome back to this edition of Journey Through Sports and Life. Scott, along with Marnie and Marjorie, and Brett Boone, our special guest. Marjorie, take it away.
Yeah, Brett, I'm interested in what it was like to play with your brother, the two of you in the major leagues the same infield. You're saying he was 4 years younger. He got to tag along, and now all of a sudden you're at the big leagues and you're playing as teammates. What was that like?
Another thing, it was that's one of those look back moments, and wish, man, I wish I would have savored the moment a little bit more. When Aaron got to the big leagues, we didn't look at it that way of, oh, we get to play together. How special is this? Once he got there, it was strictly kind of a business relationship. Now, we could go to lunch together and be brothers and have that family side of it. But once we got to the ballpark, he was my third baseman. I was the second baseman, and he better give me a good feed on the double play. And I really looked at it that way. It was really, he was my third baseman, not my brother. So we didn't really, I don't know. We didn't really savor the moment. Oh, how neat is this that brothers are playing together? It wasn't that kumbaya type of relationship. It was very professional, very business as usual on a daily basis. And it was his first year, it was his rookie year. So, I do remember the things I went through when I was first getting to the big leagues and trying to establish myself. So I think from a brother standpoint, yeah, I had that one eye on him going, come on. I call him Marnie. I said, come on, Arnie, let's get some hit. Let's, the easiest thing to do is get to the big leagues. The toughest thing to do is stay in the big leagues. So I was, secretly pulling for him always to do well. And he didn't need me to do that. He did it on his own. And, 98 was that year. After that season, I had a pretty good season that year. And I ended up getting traded to the Braves. Where back then, it was pretty much, it was the 90s. It was the Braves go to the playoffs every single year and probably the World Series. So it was an opportunity for me. I remember getting traded, and everywhere I went for the next couple of days, teammates I'd run into or fellow Major League Baseball players, they'd all say, oh, you got traded to Braves. Congratulations. You're going to go to the World Series this year. And sure enough, that came true. We did go in 99.
Brett, I love what you say, a look back moment. That's really cool. I think that's a great expression. And actually, many people have their own look back moments, but certainly you've had, a treasure chest of look back moments, probably more than a lot of other people. So as a parent, how can you give your kids advice to savor some of those look back moments?
Oh man, I don't know if we can, I try to, through my experiences, and it's this way for a lot of current players who sometimes will come for advice, when I'm out in the field, when I'm doing some work with some young minor league players or big league players. And the advice I always give to them is enjoy what you're doing, because it doesn't last forever. And when you're there, it's not that we take it for granted. I don't think that's the case with most players. I think we're appreciative of what we get to do for a living, but I think it's such a grind. It's so hard. Baseball is 162 games. There's nowhere to hide throughout the course of a season, because when you stink, guess what? You're going to be in the lineup tomorrow, and you can stink again, and then the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day. So it's such a grind. And we're always worried looking forward, who we're going to face. I got Pedro Martinez on Monday, and I got Clemens on Tuesday, and my swing isn't there right now. So we have so many things distracting us that I think a lot of times we don't take the time to just sit back, look around, and enjoy what we get to do for a living, because it's unbelievable. Usually those times come when you retire. And I think about it all the time. Going to Fenway Park. And I remember at the very end of my career, there was a pitching change. It was a day game at Fenway Park. And I just took that moment to kind of look around. I knew my career was coming to an end and I was going to retire soon. And I looked around and I'm thinking, wow, what a place. My grandpa played on this field, and I've gotten to play, in this league for 14 years. And I've never really taken that time to just kind of look at the little things in life and appreciate them. But, it's unfortunate, but it's usually, I hear this from current players. They have the same story. It's like, I wish I would have enjoyed it more, because we don't enjoy it. We grind on it. Yeah, we enjoy it. We have a good game and our team wins, but it's what leads up to that, preparing, getting ready for each and every game.
All the wisdom that you're sharing. Did you have something else you want to add to that?
No, it is a grind, because you're always looking behind your back, because there's somebody, kind of waiting in the wings to potentially take your position or to do what you're doing. So when you have all that, it is really hard to enjoy the moment, because that there's people that want to be doing what you're doing. So it's definitely difficult to enjoy that moment, but certainly important. If anybody can try to figure out how to do that, that's great.
Yeah, it definitely is. And Marty, I don't think it's necessarily, especially when you're an established player and you're in the middle of your career and things are going well and you're performing up to expectations. I don't think I ever worried about somebody coming and taking my job. Now, at the end of my career, when I wasn't, I started to my play started to go down. I thought, and it wasn't a threat or an insecurity at all. It was, now I'm getting a little bit older and my legs aren't working like they used to work. And there's going to be some young kids. One day, somebody's going to be playing second base in Seattle, and it's not going to be Brett Boone. That's life. Mm-hmm. And that's why, people retire and we get a little bit older and that youth leaves you. So I didn't feel necessarily the threat of somebody coming to take my job. I felt the threat of, I need to keep performing to provide for my family, to further this career, to go from 4 years. Now I want a multi-year deal. And after that, I want another one. And how do I get there? Well, I got to keep playing really well. And how do we play really well? We prepare as good as we can possibly prepare. That's the grind I'm talking about, day in and day out. And it's just baseball, which is so unique from other sports, is, I mentioned earlier, it just doesn't go away. There's nowhere to hide. I remember some days when you're in the zone, it's fun. You're skipping to the ballpark. You can't wait to play. But man, when times are tough and your swing's not there and you've got some tough opponents coming up, team's not doing well, you're crawling into the ballpark, just figuring out a way to survive another day.
Do crowds get in your head when you're having some of those rough spots?
No, crowd really becomes irrelevant. At least for me, as I played, I really tuned out. I could tune out the crowd, I was pretty lucky. I had the cities I played in, I had some lean years in Cincinnati where times were tough. The people in Cincinnati were great to me, though. I had some great years in Cincinnati. I had some tough years, but during the tough years, I didn't hear it. When you go on the road, you hear the crowd, you're almost entertained by it, because it's, most of the insults are pretty layman, don't have any bite. You almost want to have some dialogue back and forth with the crowd. Like, why don't you try this one? This is a little bit better. And this is a little more high level of a rag.
Better heckle.
Right, better heckle. If you're going to heckle me, listen, come here for a minute. Let me give you some pointers how to really heckle.
I like the direction you're going in there. What about a book?
I know.
Brett Boone with all the things that people should say, could say, and did say.
How to better heckle.
And I have some great ones. So that didn't bother me. And the more I got heckled, we'll use that word on the road, I knew the better I was doing. So I took it almost as a compliment when I go on the road and be the guy that everybody picked on. That means I must be doing something pretty special. They want to pay this much attention. The fans at home, and I rarely heard it. But if you heard some negativity from your home fans, that's where it hurts a little bit. As athletes, we tend to know how to tune that out. The bigger their moment, as you get more well-versed in the game and you get a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? Just experience in the game. You have the ability to tune the fans out, and just the bigger the moment, wow, I got to breathe a little bit more and really tune them out. And they may be cheering, standing on their feet, cheering for me, but I can't let that get into my being. I've got to be in the moment. I've got to perform here. And that's when you got to learn to breathe and turn it down and slow that heartbeat down, not get it up. So, fans weren't really an issue.
All right, we've got about 10 seconds before we take another break, Brett. How about that MVP, that top heckler slogan of all time? One come to mind. Now, remember, this is a family show. This is
The top heckler. What do you mean? Who?
well. What was the top thing that people would yell at you when they were heckling? You remember a favorite that you had?
Oh, they would talk about my height.
Oh, okay.
You know, I'm 5'10" on a good day, and I've got a pretty good one.
Give it some thought. We'll take a break and we'll be back with Brett Boone, our special guest on this edition of Journey Through Sports and Life. Don't go away. Welcome back once again as we continue on. Great to have you along as we move forward with this edition of Journey in Sports and Life. Brett Boone is our special guest, and I'm going to start it off, Brett, just asking you, as I've watched what you've had to say thus far in the program, I have to tell you, I'm very impressed. I've never had this opportunity one-on-one with you like I have so many other major leaguers in the past, and I just have been most impressed with how well-spoken you are with everything you've shared with us. So let me ask you this. You talk about your grandfather and, of course, your dad and your brother. And here he is, my gosh, Aaron's the manager now of the New York Yankees. It doesn't get much more iconic than that. You know, when I was a kid, I show my age here, but Mickey Mantle was my hero. I wore number 7 from Little League to Legion Ball, for Pete's sake. That was it. And yet I can't think of a family that has from grandfather to dad to brothers to siblings it's unbelievable what the Boone family has done. If you were to pick one group, one family in Major League Baseball history, I don't know if there's anybody else that comes to mind that has run that, would you not agree, girls?
Right.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
It's
legendary.
really something. I mean, congratulations. First of all, you had nothing to do with that, but my gosh, that's iconic. Good for you.
Well, it's one of those things. It's something as a kid, it kind of annoyed me. And, I had a great relationship with my grandfather. He was a huge part of my life, especially my early life, introducing me to the game, at 1 year old. But as I got into college and in the minor leagues, I kind of started to have a little bit of a resentment towards it because I'd be, I remember my AAA season and I'm hitting 330. And every city I went to, I was on the cusp of becoming a big leaguer. And it was the first third generation. And that's all they wanted to talk about. And I said, let's talk about me hitting 330 right now. And I don't give a crap about dad and grandpa and whoever you want to talk about. Now, of course, personally, dad, still to this day, have a great relationship with my dad. Brother, great relationship. Grandpa, Gramps was my guy. So it was nothing personal, but I was on my journey. And it became kind of a detriment to me. Like, I'm not going to answer any more questions about my family. I don't give a crap. I don't care what they did. What they did before me is not going to get me to where I need to be. And I had that kind of attitude. Obviously, once you make it and you make it on your own and you have your own credentials, those questions go away. Now I kind of I welcome the questions because, I am getting a little bit older and Gramps been gone now for 15 years or so. And all those times he would sit there and wear me out about, one more Ted Williams story or one more Bob Feller story. I'd say, Gramps, that's like the 20th time you've told it. Well, now when he's gone, you think, I wish he could tell that story one more time. So I think that's something we get with age, with maturity a little bit. We appreciate those times. I appreciate my family now. I'm very proud of what we've been able to accomplish. Gramps was a World Series champion, an all-star, and dad was a World Series champion, an all-star, and my brother made an all-star team. I was fortunate enough to go to a few all-star games. So I'm very proud about my family, not in an arrogant way, but just in a proud way of what they've been able to accomplish. It's pretty special. You mentioned at the top what we've been able to accomplish in the game is kind of unmatched, and not from a particular numbers standpoint, but from a family tree. Yeah, to this point, I'd say we're kind of unmatched at this point, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, as you should be.
And your kids play baseball too, Brett. So, how is that? How is coaching them and the involvement?
Well, I've got a son in the minor leagues with the Washington Nationals, and he's an A-ball, and I just tell him every day, hey, no pressure, fourth generation, but don't screw this up. No, I'm kidding. And he's gonna have that cross to bear. I mean, if he is good enough and can go up the ranks and get to AA and AAA, those questions are going to be there for him, you know, and it's going to be tenfold what I had to, because at the time there was no Aaron Boone in the big leagues. There was no Brett Boone in the big leagues. Now he's got to talk about not only his great grandfather and his grandpa, but his dad and his uncle. So he's got 4 to talk about. I only had 2.
Right, but he was also well educated too. So he you guys made a decision to send, to go to college, for him to go to college instead of going right into being drafted or doing anything like that, correct?
Yeah, Jake, he's him and I are oil and water. I mean, we're exact opposites. He's this stoic, very, very kind, humble, brilliant kid. I mean, he graduated in Princeton in 4 years. He was doing he was writing his thesis during spring training and he knocked it out. He's like, yeah, no big deal. You know, I went to USC, that's not a slouch school, but it's not Princeton. So he's a real academic. He works hard. He's passionate as can be. And the thing that's nice from a father standpoint, I loved it because when I was going through the minor leagues, when I was asked about school and I didn't graduate and what are you going to do if you don't play baseball, my answer was, what are you kidding? I'm gonna play baseball. Don't you know who you're talking to? It's already a foregone conclusion. I'm already played 15 years in the big leagues in my mind. Definitely a naive approach, but an approach I think that benefited me from the athletic standpoint, because there was no alternative in my mind. Now sitting at 52 years old watching my son, it's really cool to watch him, and man, it's tougher than I thought watching, but having that Princeton degree in his back pocket as a father makes me feel really good as well.
Oh, I bet. So what is it like growing up, having to move a lot, and then as an adult moving a lot? That's something that a lot of people don't experience. And you're starting over in new organizations and things like what is that like first as a kid to have to settle in again and again and again, and then later as an adult?
The adult part was easy. You know, you go where you got to go, and that's part of the business. Growing up, you know, it wasn't a big deal to me, and we didn't move that much. I mean, when I was real little, we you know, I think I was born when Dad was in his senior year in college. So I was in California, and then we went to the minor leagues and got through the minor leagues. And first, my real recollections are living in Willingboro, New Jersey, when my dad first got called up with the Phillies, and we eventually went over to Medford in the Cherry Hill area. And I was there until my sophomore year in high school. So I really didn't move that much. I had that core group of friends that we all have and growing up. And I remember when he got traded to the Angels and him telling, coming back and saying, well, I don't want to leave the family here in New Jersey and you're going to move to Southern Cal with me. Oh, and if all the kids out there that grew up in New Jersey, we don't like California people. And I thought, California, no way am I going, Dad. And just like most kids would, you don't want to leave your friends. I got to California six months later. I thought, wow, this place is pretty cool. And it ended up being probably the best thing for me athletically. So to your point, I really didn't move that much. I was in two places, basically Southern Cal and Jersey. Now, as a player, that just comes with the territory. I moved all over the place from early Seattle to Cincinnati to Atlanta, back to San Diego, back to Seattle. And in the off season, I always lived in Florida. So I was all over the place, and it was just the lifestyle. It was just the way it was. It wasn't a big deal to any of us because we knew that was kind of the nature of the game.
Mm-hmm. So then when you moved to California, you said that you had 2 more years of high school left, and you had to reestablish and everything like that. It was the best thing that happened to you. How did your kind of career sort of take hold then? What did you think your future might be when you landed there? You had 2 more years of high school and then, of course, college and then onto the program.
My mind was always the same. Starting from my sophomore year in high school, I kind of said, I'm going to be a big leaguer. I'm going to be a big leaguer for a long time. And I'm going to make a ton of money. that was my mindset, and that never wavered, and never, to the point of, I mentioned earlier, I think naive is putting it nicely. I would go to counselors and they'd tell me, Brett, well, you need this and this. And I'd say, I don't care what I need. Just I need to be eligible on the field. This is all, I don't need any of this, but I need this platform to get to the next platform. And that was my mindset. I never thought, people would tell me, people would look at me, this 16-year-old kid, what are you going to do when you grow up? Some kids want to be doctors, lawyers, whatever they want to be, firemen. I was going to be a big league player. And as much as everybody look at you and go, yeah, that's a great goal, but what do you really want to do? And I'd look at them like they had two heads and go, did you not just hear what I said? Do you know who you're talking to? And that was kind of how I went through my life. And when people told me there's a little bit of a chance that maybe this won't happen, I would look at you going, you're crazy. I've already seen this in my mind. And when I got to the big leagues, I had my struggles like a lot of kids do. I worked through them. And years later, I remember that 30-year-old Brett Boone looking at that 20-year-old Brett Boone and just laughing, like how much I didn't know, how much I had to learn. And I went through some tough times, some humbling times, which usually we all pretty much have to go through. And it's how you respond from those times. But I looked at a 40-year-old self, at that 30-year-old, he still didn't know what he was talking about. Now I'm in my early 50s and I look at all of them and I go, that's funny. It's almost like a funny movie to me, but I keep going on. And one day, maybe in my 70s, I'm going to look at this interview and laugh at myself too.
Well, it's amazing.
I'll tell you what, hold that thought, because we've got to take a break here. Some great stuff you're sharing with us, Brett. We really appreciate it. Brett Boone is our special guest on this edition of Journey Through Sports and Life, as we talk to some of the great Major League Baseball players, NFLers, hockey, basketball, whatever the sport might be, just where they've come from and what they continue to be a part of. So lots more coming up as we continue on with this edition of Journey Through Sports and Life right after this. Welcome back as we move on with Brett Boone, this edition of Journey Through Sports and Life. Marnie, you were going to question him?
Right. Well, Brett was talking about this, determination and believing in himself and everything else. So this grit and swagger that you had at a young age, and, where did that come from? From your dad, from coaches, mentors, or was it just an inner thing that maybe, are some people just born with that? Or is it something?
I think so. Without a doubt, now with my experience in working with young players and minor league players, it's not something it's actually a great attribute to have in the sports arena. And it's funny, I really look for that in the personalities of young players, young drafted players. I'll give you an example. You come in, you're a first round draft pick, you've got that body, you're 6'4", you've got a cannon for an arm, you've got unbelievable bat speed, your foot speed is tremendous. But I want to look into your eyes and see what's going on inside. When I hear, I don't want to hear what you think I want to hear. I want to hear that real life, that real story. The guys that I really gravitate towards are usually a guy with a chip on his shoulder, a cockiness, but a different kind of cockiness. He really believes in himself. Because those are the guys I want. I want a team full of guys that truly believe in themselves, not just tell me they believe in their ability, but truly do. This game is so hard, and you are going to be knocked down. You are going to be tested. The best of the best get tested and fail. But those guys that truly believe are going to be the ones that get off the mat, because they know what their destiny, if that makes sense. It's such a unique thing, but it's something you have to spend time with a kid, spend time with a person, and really get that feeling. I remember when I was a kind of a veteran in the game, and September would roll around and we'd have our call-ups, and there'd be guys that had great years in AAA and they get called up to the roster for September. Once in a while, you'd come across a kid that maybe rubbed a lot of people wrong with their swagger, as you put it, Marnie. I used to smile at that kid. As long as he came to the big leagues, was respectful to his elders, got out of the way, went out, busted his butt at 7:00 every night. I had no problem with you. And I remember that, we had some hazing and some fun things that they would do. I never was really a part of it. I would watch and laugh. I definitely got hazed quite a bit, and I actually reveled in it. It was fun for me. But I never was a part of it because I thought, I don't really need to humble this young man. That guy on the mound tonight, Greg Maddux is pitching tonight. That's all the humble pie he's going to need. So it's a wake-up call. It's a growing experience. I love to see the young kid that really truly believes in himself, because he's going to have his tough times. He's going to have his moments, but those are moments we take to grow. Failure is a part of life. If you've never failed, wow, that pretty blessed life. Not too many of us have gone through life unscathed. I mean, that's a rare thing. So that true belief, the mind is still your number one tool. You can have all the physical ability in the world, but if you don't believe in yourself, you're dead in the water. Those guys that truly have that strong mind and truly believe that's the X factor in not only baseball, but across the sports landscape.
So did you grow up playing other sports too? And if you did it, what might have helped you become a better baseball player outside of baseball?
I did. As a young kid, I played soccer early on. Then I got my buddies kind of bludgeoned me into changing from soccer to football. I played basketball. I loved basketball. Basketball was maybe not my favorite, but it definitely loved it. I looked at myself and I said, probably not going to be in the NBA, And as I got into high school, I started to get away and I started kind of focus. I know I wasn't going to be a football player, and I knew I wasn't going to be a basketball player, but I knew how good I was at the game of baseball. So I decided, especially when I made the move from New Jersey to Southern California, with the weather here, obviously we had that luxury of playing year round. And I really took advantage of that. I was on the best winter ball teams and the summer ball teams, and then I'd play my high school season. So I took advantage of that. And once my sophomore year hit, I was pretty much baseball only.
Oh, okay. Now, an earlier segment, we talked about heckling, and we asked you to come up with your best, what you remember, the best heckle.
The best heckle line.
Yeah, line. So we hadn't gotten back yet, and I've been curious.
Well, best line. I mean, I usually it was, the typical line is, you stink, we're going to kick your ass tonight. Yeah, those are the laymen. I remember, I don't remember the heckling lines as much as I remember my retorts. And I remember I was in my favorite place to play was Anaheim Stadium and old Yankee Stadium was my favorite. And, it's funny how the rags are different in the outfield than they are behind home plate or in the on-deck circle. And when you think about it, how much do those tickets cost right next to the on-deck circle? A lot. And then the bleachers, any college kid could go out there and they're all drunk yelling. So it's a different class of usually the CEOs and the businessmen are sitting on deck, and the young kids in college that are out partying, they're in center field yelling at my center fielder. So I never heard those rags, but I loved going to New York because the people there, I never felt any vitriol. I felt that you suck. And when I had a bad game, they were going to let me know, but never really crossed the line, that boundary. It kept it to me. But I loved about New York is the reverse was when I did well, the praise they would give you, and when you'd put it in their face, they would appreciate good play. And I remember I was sitting on deck and these guys, probably had a few drinks and they were yelling at me, "Yeah, Boone, you're a big power hitter. I didn't know you were so short." And I turned around and I looked at him and I kind of said, "Not bad." I said, "I'll tell you what, though, you should see how tall I am when I'm standing on my wallet." And the whole section just fell out. And the guy that had called me short, he just got that red face, didn't know what to do. And I had won the day and it was over. Every time I came on deck, all his buddies were going, "Boone, you're the man. You're the man." But that just came to my mind at that time. You're young, you're making millions of dollars a year, and who am I not to say that? So it's funny, and I hear that from current players now. They're like, when they meet me, Booney, is this true? This story about the wallet thing? Because I used it the other day. I heard you were the first one to use it. I said, yeah, it's true.
Oh, that's a great line.
That's
Yeah, and the fact that they're still doing it now, generations later. And that's where I want to go with the next question, Brett, is you talk about the 4 generations now that you're a part of. I mean, that really, I can't think of another sport, whether it's football, baseball, or is there another sport? I don't know. That's really something special. Certainly in the ownership there might be, but not guys that are actually on the field of play doing what your family has done. So with that in mind, this is the time of year, is the summer and what have you, Mother's Day, Father's Day. So you've got a son that went to Princeton. Now he's playing, in the minor leagues, looking to be a part of what you were a part of for so many years. Be a dad for a minute. I'm on the Father of the Year committee here in Texas. So I'm just curious, what would you say to anybody that might be listening now, that might be 8 years old, that might be 12 years old, that might be 16, getting ready to pursue a career in college and look forward to where they're going to go, what they're going to do someday, but they would maybe like to play sports. And even if they don't want to play sports, be a dad for a minute and tell me, what are some of the things that you would share with him, seeing the incredible legacy that your family has been a part of now for 4 generations, and good for you.
Well, the thing that was taught to me by my father was I never felt an ounce of pressure from him, ever. He'd come to my games, and when he could, because he was playing pretty much my whole childhood. My dad was in the big leagues, so he had a tough time making any of my games. But when he did, you'd never know he was there. He'd never say anything. He'd try to stay out of sight, out of mind. Never felt an ounce of pressure. Felt support in whatever I pursued, and I tried to mirror that in my father. I tell young kids all the time, be a kid. Enjoy being a kid, man. It's great when you don't have all these responsibilities. And I mentioned earlier about having a pretzel and a Slurpee after the game. That's what it's all about. Life gets serious enough soon enough. But the one thing is, I always never detour them for if they're passionate about what they do, whether it's football, basketball, hockey, baseball. If that's your passion, man, follow it to the best of your ability. Do everything you can do. And I've said this to my son, who's still playing right now. And one day, who knows? Maybe he'll make it, maybe he won't. But I always tell him, I said, at the end of the day, whether you play for 10, 15 years in the big leagues or you never make it out of AA, when you take that uniform off, I want you to be able to look in the mirror and say, I did everything I could do and I wasn't good enough. And you can move on with life. That's something, that's closure. That's something everybody needs, but I never detour a kid. Well, maybe I do if I see their skill set and I say, this isn't for you. Maybe in a roundabout way I will, but I love these kids to go out. Sports is where we learn life lessons. So how we learn how to interact with other kids, how we learn to get our butt kicked, how we learn to kick somebody's butt. These are all life lessons that I think are invaluable in going on. Because let's be honest, 99.9% of kids that sign up for their first Little League aren't going to play past high school. That's just the facts. That's just the way it is. But leading up to that, and I try to do that with my kids. When I first retired, I'd coach these travel ball teams, and you'd have some parents that were kind of those crazy parents that my son's got to play shortstop, he's got to pitch, he's got to catch, and he's got to hit third and fourth all at the same time, or we're leaving and we're going to another team. I said, well, why don't you leave and go to the other team, because that's not going to happen. But I'd look at their scenarios and how crazy they were. They have no idea what it takes to play at that next level, to play at the big league level. And I'd always say to them, let your kid be a kid. I want him to look back when he's 25 years old and he's in the business world pursuing whatever his occupation is and say, wow, remember we played on that 13-year-old travel team and we went to Arizona? How much fun was that? That's what we want kids to look back with. We want good memories. We don't want to push them so hard when they're 12 years old that they start to resent you. And now all of a sudden they're 25 and they can't stand their childhood because it was always do. You've got to be passionate about this. You've got to be the one that takes that leap, not mommy, not daddy. It's the kid, because that's what he is. He's a child. So I always say, have fun as a child, do whatever you want to do it to the best of your ability. When you get to a certain level in sports, you're going to know whether you have a chance. People around you are going to know you have a chance to go to that next level. Now we get serious. Now we incorporate the weight training, the diet, all that. But, just as a kid, be a kid. That's what it's all about.
It really is.
So
That was a
true.
great answer. Great answer. I tell you what, we've got one short segment coming up, so we're going to take one final break, and then we're going to be back with just a couple of closing thoughts. So thanks so much. You've been just above and beyond, Brett. We can't thank you enough. As we continue this edition of Journey Through Sports and Life, Brett Boone and more when we return. Welcome back. Our final segment with Brett Boone. Scott along with Marnie and Marjorie, and take it away, my friend.
Brett, could you tell us a little bit about your mother's role in your journey in baseball?
She's the matriarch. She's seen and done it all. She was there when Dad was playing. My whole life. Up until AAA or AA for me, my dad was still in the big leagues. So he wasn't. He was going on trips. He's gone half the month every month. So Mom was the one taking me to soccer practice, to baseball practice, to football practice, and kind of the rock of our family. She's been pretty awesome. And as far as women in this world that have seen the most baseball games, I'd say Sue Boone is that one.
That's great.
That is amazing. It's great. Moms, good moms really do make a difference. So I love how you talk about your mom, Brett. It's really beautiful. All right. So all this great information that you share with us, where can everybody listen to you and hear you and find more great Brett Boone nuggets? How do we do that? How do our listeners find you?
Well, check out my podcast. It's anywhere you get your podcasts, Marnie. Apple, Stitcher. I don't even know all the websites, but wherever you get them, they're there. We're brought to you by DraftKings. They're our main sponsor. You can go to my website, which is brettboonepodcast.com. And we come out with 2 a week. I do 2 or 3 shows around the nation weekly, just giving baseball takes, and you can catch me on a lot of different stations. There's probably too many. I don't know all the call numbers on all of them, but definitely check out the podcast. It started off something I was just messing around with. It's become pretty big, and we got a lot of great guests, probably 80 or 90 Hall of Famers so far since we started doing it. But comes out every Tuesday and Friday, brettboonepodcast.com or wherever you get them.
Yeah, and you're also very accessible. So I know if people want to reach you, Brett, that usually you chime in on Twitter or some way to let your fans know that, you appreciate hearing from them. Definitely.
Yeah, I do. They're trying to teach me to tweet more. It doesn't come natural for me going out in the Twitter world. I'm not that guy, but I'm starting to interact more and more.
Let me jump in here. We got 30 seconds left. Your brother, Aaron, manager of the New York Yankees. Doesn't get any better than that, for Pete's sake. All the World Series they've won. How about you? Ever want to get back in the field as a manager?
I would never say never. I worked briefly in 14 and 15, I think, for the Oakland A's as a roving instructor. That was a lot of fun. I loved the teaching aspect of it, but in the end, I think one day I'd like to be a manager. I think I'd be really good at it. I got a lot to offer, and we'll see. Time will tell.
We'll get you back on the show when
I tell you what, you've been just great. I wish we had more time. Brett Boone, our special guest. Talk about a great Major League legacy family. Unbelievable. Thanks, Brett. All the very best. For Marnie, I'm Scott.
Thank you.
And for Marjorie, till next time on Journey in Sports and Life, stay well.